Oh boy, I can't wait to play the new Helldivers 2 game, fighting bugs, fighting mechs, all in the name of Huh, guess not. Well, truth be told, this joke is about a month old now, but it sparked an idea. What if, while we were waiting for servers to connect, we had some minigames to play? So I set off and opened the Unity game engine. the Godot game engine and got to work. Now, I'm new to Godot, but I've made things move left and right and jump, and, well, that's about it. So I went to YouTube and found this neat RPG tutorial. It had nothing to do with what I'm doing, but it helped me learn a thing or two. Now that I know how to make the next quadruple-A title, it's time to create a new project. You see, I like to see my games in action, so I wanted some background art to get me inspired. But I felt like I needed a game title first. What could be a live service game that would come out soon? Ancient Tome 9 in Roman numerals. We have our unique title, so let's get started on some completely custom unique art and make some mini-games. Now, the flow of the game will be like this. Step 1. We start with a title screen that instructs you to press a button and start the game. Step 2. We'll tell the player that there are some server issues, but they can enjoy some minigames while they wait. Step 3. Play some minigames. And Step 4. End off with a surprise ending only fit for a quadruple-A title. Well, part 1 and part 2 were extremely straightforward. I just needed to make this little thing here that fades in the message for capacity issues, and that was really the only thing that I didn't know how to do in Godot originally. Getting the minigames to work, however, well, it was a challenge. You see, I couldn't only test the minigames in their own scenes because they needed to be set up for a specific size to fit correctly in the main scene, so I had to make this function to scale them and position them before creation. This caused some minor issues for spawning things in the minigame, but I got it figured out eventually. Now, I originally had plans to make maybe 5 or 10 minigames, but for the sake of release, I ended up starting with 4, and I have the option to create some more in the future if I'd like. Game 1. I wanted to make something extremely simple that I could make in my sleep. That's when I saw this tweet of Papyrus from Undertale drawing those mazes you would see as a kid for you to solve. So I made a maze game. It didn't look great yet, but I told myself I need to work on some of the mechanics before art. Game 2. I didn't exactly know what I wanted to make next, so I played some Helldivers 2. Oh yeah, the servers. So I played some Warframe and a friend of mine suggested Spot the Difference. I had no idea how to do randomness here, as I thought it would be neat to do some tile system where random tiles were swapped out for others. I ended up just settling on 6 separate puzzles chosen at random and requiring the player to complete 3 within the time frame. Game 3. During making Game 2, I came up with the idea of adding Flappy Bird to my minigames. It was also at this point that I decided to change the tile sets and use some of Kenny's assets that I received for free. Seriously, you should check these out, link in the description, not sponsored. This little helicopter dude became the main protagonist between my minigames, as, spoiler alert, 3 of the 4 games would use a main character that you are controlling. Now, this game I had a few issues on. For one, these pipes were doing some crazy things with collisions. And 2, I wanted the pipes to disappear when they hit the out-of-bounds collisions, but they just didn't seem to do that, despite having the collisions set what seemed to be correctly. So I opted for hard-coding a timer to get rid of them. I got it finished, and while I like how the game feels in comparison to normal Flappy Bird, I do think I could have added some more flavoring. Game 4. For the final game, my fiance had a great suggestion. What happens when your internet is out in the middle of you using Chrome? You play that dinosaur game. However, I just made Flappy Bird, and I felt these games were just too similar if I was only going to have 4 games. She then suggested Space Invaders. I think for only having these 4 games, it's a better fit, but if I ever add more, this dinosaur game is pretty high on the list. Now, I have dealt with moving players, but never really enemies before, so I opted to make it easy by moving them on a timer system where every half a second or so they move a few pixels to the side, and eventually after so many moves, they move downwards. It was at this time too that I realized Godot has the option to add class names, which made handling collisions a little easier. See, that tutorial that I talked about earlier mentioned making a function and just calling has method on the body when colliding, but I think just checking to see if the body is a certain class is just more straightforward. It was still a really helpful tutorial though. Anyways, enough of the technical stuff. We polished it and finished the game, got it uploaded to itch.io, and there's an issue. In the Space Invaders game, aptly renamed to Alien Invaders, the bullet when shooting spawns on top of the player. Now on my system, it seems that maybe the frame rate or something is just fast enough that it goes through the player's collision without any issues. However, in the limited web version, especially since I have hardware acceleration off, the lower frame rate causes the bullet to push the player. This was an easy fix, as I just needed to spawn the bullet a few pixels away from the player instead. So, here it is. The game is uploaded, and like I'd mentioned, there's maybe a fun surprise for you once you finish the game. Maybe you'll get to experience the true idea of quadruple A, unlike another game that recently came out. This was my first Godot project, so it was a little daunting, but I learned a lot and I realized I think Godot has a chance in replacing Unity for me. That being said, I hope you all enjoyed, and if you like this sort of content, make sure to subscribe, like, and comment. See you guys in the next one.